You are listening to It's Midnight Somewhere with DJs Mistress McCutcheon and The Wasteland.
It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight.
Hi, this is Mistress McCutcheon coming to you from downtown Toronto. I'm, of course, accompanied by my partner in crime, The Wasteland.
Hey, I don't have anything witty this week.
And today we are accompanied by a special guest. Please welcome Clint Jerome of Blood Bells.
Hello. Thank you both for having me on. I'm very excited.
So to get started, I first had heard of Blood Bells from your album that came out in, I believe, January of 2018, A Time for Roses. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden one night you popped up on our Prophecy live stream and it was like, oh, okay. Oh, from Blood Bells. That's cool. He's listening to us. And I remember asking where you had found us and you kind of just happened across our live stream.
Yeah, that is correct. In fact, when you started playing us, I kind of had to do like a triple take. I was just in front of the TV and I was like, no, they're not playing. Oh my God, she's playing us. What? And so that's when I kind of, shamelessly jumped in the chat and I was like, that's my band. That's me, Dad. That's me. And, no, it was great. And I really did just happen upon your show, and for the best. I mean, I started off this whole year, like a lot of people, where I was, kind of tuning into a lot of those Twitch streams, and Dark Energy is kind of the one that got me kicked off with wanting to check out other ones. And yeah, I just kind of found you through the web of great recommended DJs. So, and thank you so much for supporting our band so much.
Oh, and then thank you likewise for supporting our stream, because then you also started DJ streaming, and your DJ name is Ghoul Whip.
That is correct. I like to play with words. Words are fun. They're like kinetic sand in my mind. It's fun.
Cool.
So let's start with Blood Bells, because your album came out in January of 2018. And then you've also done a live stream with your band, and it's you and your wife, Lauren.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, my wonderful, lovely wife and best friend, who has been playing bass for Blood Bells for almost 2 years now, and we're finally kind of getting around to working on some new tunes. And we tried to keep some momentum going with the the live streams and stuff like that, but I'm just really, really excited for this next phase. Now that Lauren has teamed up with me, I think that we're going to definitely be putting out some very exciting songs that people are going to like.
So with Blood Bells, like, was this your first band, or like, where did you start? Tell us more about you.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I think Blood Bells is probably like my 18th band, but in reality, I started off very heavily. I kind of did the backwards thing. So when I was about 14 years old, I got really into goth music just from here. I heard The Cure once, and kind of made me really excited to do that. And the rest is history. But by the time I started actually performing music, it was when I was about 18, and I drummed for a punk rock band in Dallas. We didn't really do a lot at the time, but the weirdest thing was, in between the time I discovered goth and started playing music, there was a couple years where I had discovered punk rock after goth, which was, a lot of people always say the opposite. They kind of do the goth stuff after punk rock, but it was flipped for me. And so yeah, I basically spent a good part of about 15 years just doing different punk bands. My most recent one before the one that I'm most proud of before Blood Bells is called Pink Smoke, and we have a couple of albums on Spotify that people can check out, and on Bandcamp. But that one was way more like 77 kind of punk stuff. I was doing guitar and vocals for that. You can hardly recognize my vocals because they were a little bit of a stretch for me, because I was trying to sing a little higher instead of the range that I sing with Blood Bells, which is more my range. But so yeah, did Pink Smoke from about 2011 to 2016. And then took a little break from music and said, you know what? I've been doing these punk bands for a long time. I have never been able to find somebody to do what I really have always wanted to do, which was like gothic rock, death rock, or dark wave. And so I finally decided that even if I had to take some time to find that person, I was going to do things the way I wanted to do them. So finally, I'm getting to do with Blood Bells what I've wanted to do for years, and that is just play some just good dark music that you can dance to. I no longer have to be the random goth guy at punk shows. I get to hang out with more people like me now, so it's fun.
Well, that's what I always feel like it can be the case with death rock. It's a little too goth for the punks and too punk for the goths. It's kind of that in between.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. But I think the thing that's so appealing about death rock is it doesn't take itself seriously, and it's just like it does have that kind of harder edge that a lot of people really want. Because honestly, as I'll say, there's a butt for every seat. I love beautiful, sparkly goth music. I love ambient sounds, but that's got its place, and I think more harder edge like death rock has its place in the community as well. So, and honestly, I think, and it's probably no secret to anyone that's heard A Time for Roses, but I was having a really hard time trying to figure out what I wanted my sound to be, because there's so many bands that are trying to sound like other bands, especially like the Sisters of Mercy and just stuff like that. And I kind of found that inspiration in Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, because they were kind of perfectly straddling like punk and goth to me. And funny enough, the first song I ever wrote for Blood Bells was Secret, and it was a direct ripoff of Hollow Eyes by Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. So much in fact that my dear friend Scary Lady Sarah, aka Sarah Rose Faith, when she does goth nights in Chicago, she always will play Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, Hollow Eyes, and then go right into Secret, and it always makes me laugh.
I recall that's one of the things I certainly noticed in listening to Blood Bells was that this is very much inspired by Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, which is a welcome relief to me because, as you mentioned, there's so many bands that wanted to be clones of the Sisters of Mercy, and that was especially evident in the 90s with Rosetta Stone and The Wake. There were just so many of those kinds of bands, and while there's a place for everything, we don't need to beat the hell out of the dead horse because the horse he's dead. Let him go.
Oh, absolutely.
That horse
We
is
need
so
room-
dead.
we need room for different.
Many years ago. I think I'm like what's called a second waiver, and it was already dead at that point. So
Right. Exactly. So where does the name Blood Bells come from?
it comes from a Current 93 song. Which is like a really kind of obscure, esoteric English folk, neo-folk, I guess is what they're called. But they're a little bit more weird and definitely not toying with the kind of bullshit that bands like Death in June and stuff toy with. So it was nothing like that. But
No, they're one of the good ones.
yeah. But honestly, no. So yeah, it's a song called Blood Bells Chime, and it's funny because I think maybe like one person has come up to me at a show and they were like, it was right after we played, and they're like, "Hey, Current 93," and I was like, "Yeah, Current 93, man." Like I knew what he meant. Oh,
It's the secret code.
It is the secret code. And actually, real quick to kind of jump back onto the Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry comparison, I had this poor guy. He was we played before all of the COVID stuff. It was last year we played at a house show, and there was it was right after the set, and this guy just was so excited. He came up to us and he was just like, "Oh my God, you guys were great." And he genuinely looked me in the face and he goes, "I loved your cover of Hollow Eyes." And I went, I was like, actually, that's our song, but it's, and he was like so embarrassed. I was like, no, dude, it's totally fine. I am very transparent about how bad I ripped that song off. So it's fine. I just needed a jumping off point.
Nice.
So one of the things we always like to ask people is what's Dallas looking like these days?
Okay. So that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So here's the deal. Like Dallas in general, anyone that knows anything about Texas, because all eyes are on us. Number one, I'd like to say I'm proud that this was the first state ever that we were what's called a battleground state. I'm glad that we were forcibly trying to, like turn things around down here politically. But regardless, I think as far as the scene goes here, it's very, very scarce, which has kind of really been the case. I mean, we, for a long time, we have a club called The Church that's been around forever. And you kind of see a lot of people come out to that. So you kind of get to see the community that would kind of, go out to those nights once a week. But as far as the community goes, when it comes to musicians, it's really, really tough to find any kind of goth music scene here. I mean, we're very limited, and these great bands will come out and then they'll just go away really quickly. Aztec Death broke up. Garden of Mary broke up, which was an amazing band from Dallas. And so that kind of just like leaves us, to my knowledge, unless I really do think that Blood Bells might be the only band doing this right now in Dallas. So it's tough. We don't really have a scene here. I wonder what it would be like to live in a city that does have like a big, huge, thriving scene. Do you think oversaturation would be just as bad as scarcity? Like, is there a happy medium?
Well, that's a really interesting question. Yeah. I think what it comes down to is, I'm trying to collect my thoughts on this one, and it doesn't really directly answer your question, but it sounds like you have more of a club scene, which is like a lot less involved. It seems like
that is absolutely correct. Yes, that's a really good way to put
it. It seems like I don't know, musicianship, or even like where we are, like there aren't a whole lot of people willing to put into time even to learn how to DJ. Like most of our DJs in Toronto are 30s and 40s. Like, we're all older.
And yeah, you've been doing it for a while probably. And yeah, you're not seeing a lot of, are you seeing like not a lot of new people come up and do that?
Well, I would say that since COVID, the folks who are younger who are doing things are not streaming online. And I mean, there's reasons why some DJs are not able to get online. Either they don't have the know-how, they're not tech savvy enough, they don't have the equipment or whatever. And then other folks who've been DJing for like 20 plus years, the heavy hitters, are certainly active online and trying to, cultivate their audience and keep their audience going. Just because when we talk about the scene, it's kind of like, well, how do you define what makes the scene? Is it all surrounded around club nights, or is it surrounded around certain activities, or what else is going on? Is it always club based? Because right now there aren't any clubs open. As a matter of fact, we've been seeing several clubs closing. One of the clubs that we were supposed to have a night in April, that club called The Boat has recently called it quits because they can't handle it anymore. We're seeing a bunch of venues closing. And I think as far as larger cities go right now, I think there's a lot of flight from cities because folks are saying, well, why would I bother living in the city when I can't do anything here? And the things that made the city great it's kind of becoming more and more scarce. I might as well go elsewhere. Why not live somewhere else? So I don't know if that's also the case where you are in Texas, but I've been definitely hearing about it in Toronto because a lot of folks are considering leaving the city because it's like, well, it's expensive here, and if all the things that were great about Toronto are not available anymore, then I know, and not just goths, but varying people are considering leaving.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of going on everywhere. I mean, especially I lived in my town in Denton here, which is about 25 minutes north of Dallas. Great little town. It's kind of like miniature Austin, but I've lived here off and on for like 20 years. The joke is I always end up back here, and I have just watched it go from being like this really kind of like thriving art town to being extremely like very, very like yuppified. Like that we've got, there's like they're putting up new strip malls all the time, and it's crazy, and the prices are going up. But also, to kind of speak to when you were talking about like DJing and stuff like that. So believe it or not, like what you see on Ghoul Whip, where I'm doing vinyl only all the time. I have never DJ'd before a few months ago. Never had experience doing it. And Andy 80s, aka Andy Harriman, bless her heart, like there was probably 2 months of back and forth on Instagram with me just asking her like, hey, to like do this, like should I get like what, this is the turntable I'm thinking about getting, or like, hey, what kind of this and that do you use? And she was like so kind, and we developed a friendship because of that. So but she was my inspiration to start the DJ thing. And I've kind of noticed that the people, I'm one of those people that's like, if you want something done, do it yourself. And I'm self-taught on all my instruments. I don't know how to read music. I had to figure out all the DJ stuff. And it's kind of one of those things, since 2020, all the shit hit the fan, I've noticed that like the people that I just knew in my personal life that were just proactive people, those are the ones that have started saying, hey, there's no club nights anymore, so I'm going to start doing other stuff. I'm going to organize, at Black Lives Matter rallies with people, or I'm going to like do like DJ streaming. I'm going to do, this and that, and kind of, see what else I can do to contribute to either my community or society. And I've noticed that the people that were not very proactive people just in general before this are the ones that I see posting photos like there's no pandemic. They're the ones that were only maybe going to the clubs for a while. And if they have nothing else to offer, they're just freaking out so much because they don't have that outlet anymore to go to the club, that they're just saying, fuck it. And they're posting photos of them with 20 of their friends hanging out at the bar with no mask on, and it's so frustrating. I'm like, dude, do something that's not only better for your fellow human beings, but do something that might be proactive and benefit the subculture that you say is so important, instead of just saying, oh, well, the clubs are closed and I can't go to shows anymore, so fuck it, I'm just going to be destructive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really funny. to hear that folks are just like, oh, well, there's no club and I'm just going to treat this like nothing's wrong, like nothing's happening anyway. Because if anything, one of the blessings of 2020 is I feel like the community has grown stronger and a lot of people are really reaching across and sharing all sorts of things, like sharing the live streams and people talking about music and sharing like, hey, what's going on? What are you buying on Bandcamp and what are you interested in right now? It's facilitated a lot of conversation and a lot of people getting to know each other from all over the place, which has been really exciting. The connections have been really meaningful.
Exactly. And that's why I'm sitting here right now is I met you during the time of COVID because I was tuning into your live stream. I mean, it's great. And honestly, I think that I have had more self-discovery this year by being forced to not distract with outside sources like I did before. I have learned who I am and figured out what I want to do like tenfold this year. And it's interesting because I think now that my attitude's changed and I've worked on myself more and really kind of focused on what's important, it just so happens that I'm now meeting people, like I'm subconsciously being more picky about who I want to let into my life. And I'm meeting people like you and like Jay, who are just great, decent people that I'm just like, shit, man, like when this is all over, I'm going to fucking come hang out and bother you guys.
Yay.
That would be amazing. I think of how many people, it's funny you mentioned Andy Harriman because last August she was up here in Toronto. We DJ'd together because I had said on a whim, her and a friend of mine, Cicely, who goes by DJ Svechka, I was like, the three of us should DJ together. And they came up, they crashed at my house and we did a night together. And, I mean, it's so fun. It is. And because both of them are amazing, really amazing DJs. And, it's that proactive nature of like, fuck it. Yeah, let's do this thing. You get an idea. Why not? Let's go do it. And it just makes for a really interesting life and a fun time. I mean, when you get to meet people who are doing creative things and who are doers and not just sitting back going, and expecting something to happen for them. So it's been pretty cool that way. Cause I look forward to a time when travel can be a thing again. And I've never been to Texas, so I'd come.
Well, saddle up, partner. But honestly, no, you really said it. You hit the nail on the head right there because it is just absolutely astonishing how being proactive whenever you talk to someone that maybe doesn't do or isn't a part of the subculture or isn't doing as many things that you're doing within it, they'll be like, oh wait, hey, didn't you like do a DJ thing? Oh wait, and you've got a band and you're like doing this other stuff and doing the show. Man, how can you stand being so busy? And I'm like, I don't feel that busy. I maybe it's just because I love what I'm doing now. I'm not spending my times like I was the years before, like, always going out to like, the bar with friends and like distracting that way, or like constantly going to shows and not like working on what I wanted to do. So when people say that I sound like I'm doing too much, I just kind of shrug and I say, it doesn't feel like it. In fact, I always want to pile more on my plate, especially because I don't have children to, look after. I'm the only child that I need to look after.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think that just to self-reflect a little bit, I think it kind of helps us as well we decided to launch a podcast and literally recorded 2 episodes and then the pandemic hit. So it's something that gives us drive and motivation to look forward to. And now since most people are home, it's easy to get people on too.
Exactly. Yeah. And so people are just discovering great things. So I guess it's really good for people like you both and people like me that are like, hey, we're going to have a more online presence because now we're going to be known a little bit better, I think, than we would have been. Oh God, how hilarious would it have been if y'all were like, hey, let's start a travel podcast. And then you did 2 episodes and then the pandemic happened.
Today's episode, I go to my bathroom.
Yes, today's episode, I put on a mask in 10 layers and go to the local bodega.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, one of the things that we were talking about and would have done this year would have been Convergence in Kentucky. And we were plotting a road trip and trying to figure all that stuff out. And then that all couldn't happen. It wasn't possible. So I only think that when there is an opportunity for live music and bigger events to come back, that people are really going to appreciate and celebrate it.
I just want to interject there. I think something that you mentioned earlier, that it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lack of stages.
Oh yeah, and I completely agree.
And it's going to be hard for smaller bands like Blood Bells to travel and find a place to play because it's going to be highly competitive.
Oh God, yeah. There's going to be kind of that gold rush, for at least the first year, or I would say a year or two, especially because all these, as we all kind of described, the heavy hitters are going to have, top billing and top choice whenever all this starts happening again. So I think the best that smaller bands like Blood Bells can hope for is just really, really try to hop on as opening acts on those shows. And honestly, we're not going to do a lot of traveling unless we're invited somewhere or we know that we're going to play to a good crowd. My touring in the back of a broken down shitty van and not eating for a couple of days, those days are long behind me. I don't have time for that shit now.
All right.
It's hard. It is a really tough thing, but I think that's actually a really good point, though, as far as lack of stages, because whatever happens as we progress here with the vaccine coming out, with things are kind of stabilizing and society can kind of come back together again. I just think we're going to be at a point where things are just going to have to adapt. And it's like how you mentioned, we played at a house party. There may be more of that sort of thing happening where things become really independent and really guerrilla, because I think of in the 90s, all the illegal rave parties. Mm-hmm. And
oh man, I remember those. Yes.
we might be heading back to those types of days where there's a space and somebody with a generator goes, fuck it, let's do a thing. And it becomes a show, or it becomes a dance party or something. I mean, we can only speculate how things are going to roll out at the end of this, because dealing with this pandemic, and then however things fall out with the economy, because I know there's a lot of folks who are struggling, who haven't been able to work, and the government isn't helping them either. So people have to make a choice of, do I stay home and stay away from everybody, or do I put my life at risk by taking on a job that might get me exposed to this virus?
Oh, absolutely. And it was apparent. I mean, it was already apparent to me, but I think it became apparent to most people where our nation in the United States, where their priorities are, which is literally just on the dollar. They put a fucking dollar sign on everything, as Bill Hicks said. And it's like, there's people dying out there that are having to go work at jobs where they can barely scrape by, or there's people at least getting sick, doing that. And it's just so frustrating. It's like, where is all this money that we're putting in to that's taken out of our paychecks? It's in the fucking military, but we won't go there.
That's a whole different topic.
That's a whole different podcast. Yeah. But no, honestly, it's hey, goth is political. Am I right?
It
That's
sure
right.
is. Anybody who tells you different is not paying attention.
Anyone that tells you different is selling something.
I was going to say that, but I don't think they're selling anything. I just don't think they're paying attention enough.
How do you not know your music history? Come on. It's like, it's always been political.
I think the best way I've seen somebody handle that was our friend Kate on one of her live streams, where somebody said that in the chat, and she was like, "Really? This your first time?
You new here? Really?"
Oh my God. No, that's very true.
So before we went off on that, which this is great. This is just the nature of conversation, and it's just being organic and whatever. But what I wanted to go back to was, you mentioned that you always end up back in Denton in Texas. Where else have you lived and participated in the goth scene?
Okay, so I've lived in a few places in the US. I have lived in Arvada, Colorado, which no goth scene. That was a rough time for me. And I lived in Chicago for a bit. I lived in St. Louis a little bit in my teens, and most notably, though, is I had the wonderful experience of living in Sydney, Australia from 1999 to 2000. And that was where, that would have made me between 16, from the ages of 16 to 17, I lived there. And I got to participate in a very fledgling goth community there. I couldn't find anybody that wanted to do music with me, but I had, I found the like few goth kids and teenagers. Mostly, actually, there was even a couple of older people, in their at the time, quote, older, in their mid-20s. So I kind of rallied around them, and we would go down to like Newtown, where all the like leather shops were, and we would just get these crazy deals on like BDSM gear, because it wasn't really in vogue at the time. So it was great. We were just like piling up, getting all this great shit, and I had the chance to kind of help organize house shows and stuff when I was there for, like little local goth bands. It was a very volatile time in Australia in 99, 2000. There was a very, very large LGBTQ revolution happening there. It was they always joke and say Australia is a little bit behind the times. Well, it is that case when it comes to certain things. And I'm so glad that I got to be there and witness this kind of like this revolution happening, where people were just being a lot more bold about who they were, and really kind of making statements with what they were wearing at the time. So that was just a really good time. I'm really fond of the memories that I have there.
I got so sucked in your story, and now I'm like, where do we want to go from here?
Oh no, it's and I was actually thinking, I think that might be all. I don't think that I've lived anywhere. I'm getting to the age now where I'm like, have I lived anywhere else? All I know is that I always end up in between all of those times that I lived, in like, okay, first I lived in Denton, then I went back, then I went to Chicago, then I came back to Denton, or first I lived in Denton, then I moved to Colorado, then I came back to Denton. And I think it's just because I'm like, look, Denton compared to Dallas is a lot cheaper to live. The beer is way cheaper. It's way cheaper to go out and have a good night here than it is in Dallas. Dallas can be very bougie. And you know what? Much love for my friends in the community or in bands in Dallas. But anyone that knows me knows that when I go to Dallas, I'm like, oh, how bougie is this place?
Gotcha.
So how far, because Texas is a big place, and I lived in Texas for a bit, but I don't know where Denton is. How far outside of Dallas are you?
25 minutes outside of Dallas. In fact, Jay, I know that you spent some time in San Antonio. So we are about, I want to say, if I remember correctly, we're right at about 3.5 to, maybe to 4.5 hours from San Antonio.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was funny enough, that was the last show that we played was in San Antonio in January. We played for a lovely goth night there. DJ Detra and Mary Millions from the Sisters of Mondays, they DJ at the club we played, which is called the Amp Room. Wonderful other DJ from San Antonio named Eli Bat DJs there. And they just have this little goth night called 1313 at the Amp Room. And we had a blast playing it. They were able to meet our minimum that we ask, which is very little. They were able to accommodate us with drinks. The club was packed, y'all. I mean, I was shocked because I had gone to San Antonio about 10 years before, and it was mostly a punk and psychobilly scene. Then all of a sudden I see just tons of goth people coming out to our show, and it just blew me away. So sorry, but I digress.
No, that's good to hear, because when I lived in San Antonio from 2007 to like 2011, it was nothing. It was like piles of nothing.
Yeah. Besides, what would you say? It was like nothing plus Hog Wild Records.
It was like nothing being shot at from the back of a,
See, you're I was going to say, you're describing Tulsa, Oklahoma to me. That happened. There was someone that got shot. One of the bands I was in like a long time ago, someone actually got shot as we were on stage right outside the door. Like we saw the like gunfire, like the big blast from the barrel. And they got carried off. And I just remember right after it happened, and the guy got like carried off. Some like drunk asshole comes in and he's like, "It's fucking Tulsa. What you expect, man?" And he was just like, he was all like happy about it. And I was like, God, Oklahoma, why hast thou forsaken me?
Darby mountain people, as I tell my friends, don't. If you meet people from Oklahoma, they're almost always scary. But no, I was actually thinking of what was it? The first week I lived in San Antonio. I had moved into a house I was renting that was in like a subdevelopment they were building, and it wasn't done yet. So within like 2 or 3 nights, I'm sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden I hear rifle fire. Because if you've heard a rifle or a pistol or a shotgun, they all sound pretty distinct.
Yes, they do.
So I look out the window, and there goes the pickup truck driving backwards, chasing a wild hog, giant motherfucker hog, down the street, firing. And the person I was living with at the time, she just looks at me and goes, "Well, you're in Texas now." I was like, "No shit."
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. So are all of my people in Canada hearing this and going, "Holy shit, America sounds fucking insane"?
No, they're going, "Holy shit, it sounds like Alberta."
Alberta is the Texas of Canada, that's for sure. But I mean that, and I feel very northern now because I've never lived further south than New Jersey, so I'm definitely a northerner, and I'm very city. So yeah, again, I've never been to Texas, or I haven't spent a lot of time in the southern U.S., but folks have convinced me like, oh no, there are certain places you need to investigate, like here, here, and here. And again, those bubbles of cities are where you start to find your like-minded people, and where you can find the places where, oh, this is interesting, and this is interesting, and this is where this little hub of creativity is. Because that, and I always find that real estate always follows immigrants and artists, because we're the folks who add the color and the culture,
and then they kick us out,
and then all of a sudden, yeah, and then the yuppies come in and kick us out and
shit
price
on
us
everything.
out. So, and they shit on everything. Yeah,
take this. They're like, they're Otho and Beetlejuice. Take these down. Take these down. Oh, sorry, no, actually, I'm thinking of Ghostbusters when the guy comes into the, he's like, shut this down, shut these down, shut these all down. That is what they're doing. And it's so weird to me. It's like you're following where the arts and culture communities are, but then you're saying tear it down, even though it's this vibrant community, and we're just going to put like beige ass shit everywhere. And
right.
It's so weird. It's like, if you're going to invest in a community, it's maybe keep it the same and help it enrich it the way it is. It actually might end up being a way better community if you got to be a big old corporation coming in, just at least like embrace the way the community already is. But that's never going to happen.
No, there's no profit in that.
Yeah, because we know exactly. It's all about the worship of the almighty dollar. So it's very difficult. And I mean, again, in the time period that we're living right now, it's difficult for smaller businesses to survive, because I mean, big box chain stores, you lose one location, no big deal, because you've got like 10 others. But the smaller businesses and the smaller guys are losing out. And it's going to be really interesting to see who remains once society can kind of rejig itself back into gear again, and how things are going to adapt and how things are going to change. Because one of the questions we've asked various people that we've had both on and off the podcast, we've been saying, what do you think is going to happen with the DJ live streaming? Do you think this is something that will continue once we get to a point where it'll be safe to go to a club again? What do you think?
My honest opinion is I do think it's going to stick around. I might have said something different a few months ago and said, oh yeah, for sure. Once the clubs are kicking again, everyone's going to, kind of get off of that, and it will have been a trend. But I'm going to be honest with you. What better thing for a DJ to be able to, what better option for a DJ to be able to have if they are having trouble getting a gig, in an actual club, because it's going to be saturated when it opens up? It's like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm going to just play on Twitch tonight, and if whoever wants to see that can watch me, of course, without stepping on any other DJ's toes. But it's just nice to have the option if you have trouble getting a live gig to be able to just stream on Twitch. I mean, the money's not going to be as good, but I mean, we don't do it for that. because it's not really a lot of money in it. So
yeah.
So,
but I do think it's going to stick around. Yeah.
To jump off of that, then, since you're the first member of a band we've had on since Bandcamp announced they were going to start doing ticketed events. Have you thought about it? Or are you going to approach it that way or give it a shot?
Oh, honestly, I always want to try kind of like new and interesting things. So we're definitely going to give that a try, I think, and kind of see what happens when we try that. Because honestly, I mean, I have always loved having an excuse to not have to go out and fucking deal with a lot of things outside my house. So yeah, so if Bandcamp is going to give us a viable way to play a live show, a ticketed show, I'm just going to have to make sure that I'm going to at least give people what they paid for. And not just be like, hey, here's me in my living room with jeans on. Like, I at least want to try to make it look nice if I have to do that. Because it's like, okay, let's try to make this look like a show.
So you mean you're going to put a shirt on too then to make it look
nice? I'm going to have only a half shirt, Jay.
Oh, good. Crop top or bust?
We're gonna do a crop top with probably nipple holes cut out because I got to embrace my inner Martin Gore, Oh, Billy.
Well, you just sold your first ticket.
6'5", 240 pounds, and that's a lot of man in a crop top. I'll tell you that much right now.
Oh my God. No, it's been really funny seeing various setups of people streaming and getting a glimpse literally into their homes as they're DJing and recognizing the different, you have that bat light too and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely love it. Yeah. It's one of those things to look forward to because, I mean, here we are, we're all like, yeah, we're doing things, we're being creative, but it's tough to deal with those tough days, the days where you're like, oh my God, I can't get out of bed and this is really stressful. But having all these little things set up to look forward to and these occasions, I'm going to get dressed up because then I'm going to go DJ and I'm going to, there's going to be this event going on and I can hop on the chat and talk to all these folks who have been meeting online and they've been good coping strategies and they've just been really lovely connections with a lot of different people. Because I know when I DJ, I want to make an effort to put on an outfit and perform essentially while I'm playing a lot of music. Because otherwise, there's some days where it's just hard to take a shower and get out of bed.
Oh man, yeah, I feel that hard. I hard agree with you there. And honestly, it is just like something that has been extremely difficult this year, especially for a lot of people. I'm very I'm very open about it. I definitely struggle with depression and I also have, diagnosed ADD. So, that actually can just perpetuate itself. Your ADD can make you depressed. Your depression can make you feel, like those ADD symptoms flare up. So yes, it really is kind of nice to be able to get out and perform for people, to kind of it's just very soothing and healing for the soul, I think, to just be able to just do something that you love. And I feel very fortunate to, have taken the time to learn how to DJ. And I'm definitely feel fortunate to know how to play, multiple instruments and have a band, because I don't know what I would do without music in my life in the large capacity that it is. Like I have to constantly be overdosing on music, and I don't know. It's a very cool thing. And a little fun fact, once all of the COVID nonsense is finished, which I hope it's within the next few months, it's going to be interesting for me because I've only DJ'd at home. I've never gone out and DJ'd to a club. And I feel like, because I've already got some things in the works, I want to do at least one or two goth nights in my town a month. And it's going to be interesting. I wonder what that's going to be like for me, going from just looking at my TV and knowing there's maybe 8 to 10 people on my stream, to going to a club and getting to see in person how excited people get whenever I put on the song that they wanted to hear, or, when I get to kind of basically make a big kick-ass live playlist for my friends. That's going to be really cool. I've never done that before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, that transition between DJing online and DJing in a room, because as DJs, one of the things that you're always looking out for is reading the room, knowing who your audience is and going, oh, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Oh, wait, we need to get people dancing. Let's put something on that's going to get some butts wiggling. And yeah, it's a very different experience when you have a live audience to play off of, because then you can feed off of that energy in the room. You can tell if people are having a good time, or if they're not, if they're like, I want to hear this or whatever. But that's a whole other thing with experiencing an audience, and if people want to come up and bug you for requests or anything like that and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can tell.
There's good and bad.
You can tell when you're shitting the bed.
No, that makes sense. And honestly, it's funny that you mentioned that, because with to kind of do a little promotion here. So with my Ghoul Whip stream, I try to keep it fairly infrequent, because I don't want people to get burnt out on it. But I'm learning that I maybe need to do the opposite and actually get beyond a little bit more. But the interesting thing, so when I started Ghoul Whip, I knew that I wanted to do vinyl only, because I wanted to have the challenge of being like, okay, if I want to play this song, I want to, try to find the record for it. And in a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of music that's coming out now that is not available on vinyl, but hopefully that'll change. Blood bells, cough, cough. But honestly, so the thing with Ghoul Whip that I think helps me stand out is, you're going to hear a Skinny Puppy song followed by a Stacy Q song. You're going to hear, The Mission followed by an Italo disco song. It's very, very, it's very eclectic. And I try to make the set list run really smoothly to where it's not too jarring. But I have gotten some feedback from people that are like, oh man, I'm really enjoying the like EBM stuff you're playing. But then whenever you put on Thompson Twins, I'm going to like leave the room. So it's going to be interesting to see how my initial kind of Ghoul Whip music selection is going to stack up in person, or if I'm going to end up kind of being like, all right, fine, I'm going to have like an 80s night and then maybe like a goth night, like separate it out, So
I got two thoughts on that. One, if people don't like the Thompson Twins, fuck them.
Fuck them.
Seriously.
And then two is, no, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. It's just that's when they go get a beer or have a smoke or whatever, and that's that person. You want people to go to the bar, so every once in a while you throw in one or two of those, you'll be fine.
Oh, hell yeah, because you do want people to go to the bar so they can come back even more trashed and really dance to all the cool shit you're playing. I got you.
Well, that, and yeah, and then depending on the venue that you're in, if you're dependent on bar sales, you want to be sure that you keep selling drinks while people are dancing and having a good time. So it's that balance.
That you guys can tell where my priorities are. I'm like, oh yeah, get people hammered, and you're like, no, like, but money, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, not that. Yeah, well, not that this is a big moneymaker, because God, if either of us wanted to be DJs that were making serious coin, then we wouldn't be spinning this kind of music at all.
It's true.
Oh God, that's true. That's so true.
It'd be corporate events. Because it'd be corporate events and weddings. That's where you'd make the real coin. But then you'd be playing like Shake It Off and Happy, which are essentially the same song, which I can tell you from experience because I DJ'd a wedding and I learned that. And a little part of me was like, I'm going to make this work. It's weird, but I'm going to make this work. And people who knew me went, oh, Laura is wasting her collection. She's playing Taylor Swift.
And you're like, but I play Taylor Swift so I can make all this bank to buy goth records.
Hey, it always goes back to buying records.
That is true. Oh my God, that is something I miss doing, by the way.
I haven't been to a record store in a long time, but I can definitely say one of the big purchases has been having enough money in the fund to keep buying music, because there's been a lot of music purchases during this time.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was gonna say Jay probably feels that too. And honestly, both of y'all, I'm a fucking celebrity on eBay at this point, probably. Like, oh, it's that guy again. Oh, it's that guy again. I am just so good at finding these. Almost so much of I think I've probably since the beginning of the year. I'm not even kidding you, because I'm saving money on not going out. I've probably bought 80 to 100 records since March. Just and the fucking mail lady. No, like we're on a first name basis now, and like. And I'll like give her like, she loves Diet Coke. So I'll give her a Diet Coke when she gets here. And she's like, here's some more shit for you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Sorry. I've got a problem. But no,
we could drop another song in here. What song are you most excited about currently?
You know what? Let's do this. In fact, what's had me going for a while, but it's had me going even more so because the record just came in yesterday and I was bumping the fuck out of it today. How about let's play the song Westerners by Boy Harsher.
Ooh.
I just got Country Girl Uncut on LP, so I am excited about that.
Did you get the limited spatter version?
You know it, Jay?
I have it too.
Yes, it's amazing.
That and one of our really awesome parties, we did the after party for Boy Harsher when Boy Harsher played here in Toronto, and we packed the bar, and the audience drank the bar dry.
Oh, that's amazing.
We're very proud of that night. We're very proud because it was a tiny little basement venue called Bambis. I wonder if they're still around. I think they still exist. They have not closed yet, but it's a tiny little basement bar. And they underestimated what the crowd was going to be like that night because it was our first time in that space, and the audience drank the bar dry. There were a couple ice cubes and a little whiskey left.
I think they're gone because Fizz Fizz is now a hamburger joint. So unless
that's what America needed, another hamburger joint.
Well, Canada certainly does, but no.
Sorry.
There's a sign outside that says hamburgers now. So unless they just rebranded to get through this difficult time,
who knows? Because I mean, I know they had a restaurant upstairs, and they lovingly called their downstairs basement bar the Grotto. It was very grotty, so maybe that's why. I don't know, but who knows? They may have pivoted just to help themselves exist.
Yeah. Hopefully.
But
that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. And you're also correct. I keep forgetting that. Oh, wow. Because the thing is, like, Jay, I got it in my head when you said you lived in San Antonio. In my mind, you still live in the United States, and it's only Mistress McCutcheon that doesn't. So I'm going, oh yeah, Toronto does need a really kick-ass burger place, probably.
Well, that's debatable because, and it's funny though because
here comes the vegan.
I wasn't even going to go there. I promise you, I wasn't even going to go there. But the thing is that
I acknowledge that I am in the minority by not being vegan and being into the goth subculture. By the way, I'm just putting a pin in that. But continue, please.
I find that there's definitely been food trends through Toronto where a lot of burger and hot dog places were opening up. Like it's almost like it was a backlash against healthy eating that these sort of like burger places were opening. So it feels like we've got a fair amount of them. But what I was also going to say that's pretty funny is even though Jay and I are both in Canada, all three of us are Americans. So we just fled. Some of my friends used to introduce me as, oh yes, this is Laura. She is a refugee of the Bush regime. So because that's how long I've been up here.
Oh my goodness. And it's so funny. So you did what, and I know that like anyone else that could be here would vouch for me. So you did the thing that I've said and that I've heard multiple Americans say where they're like, fuck it, man. If we get another administration like this, or if XYZ happens, I'm moving to Canada. But you actually did it. So hell yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, both of us actually got up here. And I mean, I came up here because I really liked Toronto and it was less expensive to live up here than it was in New York. Although Toronto has gotten steadily more and more expensive. Like it's never been a cheap city, but the quality of life up here is significantly higher than that in New York or Brooklyn. So I still like it here. I have to admit, I still have a lot of love for this city. It's just sometimes the city doesn't love us back. So it's tough.
Are people as polite as all of the jokes in Canada? Like how people are like, well, if you shoot them, they'll apologize for being in your way.
If you bump into somebody, yes, the chances of somebody apologizing for you bumping into them is pretty high. Yes.
Actually, I really enjoy that. You know, there's all this bullshit when you hear about United States about, oh yeah, Southern hospitality. Yeah, I don't get treated with Southern hospitality in Texas. Like the guy that yelled at me at the gas station earlier and stuff like that. So that doesn't happen to me. So the fact that I was raised with manners, it sounds great to be able to live in a place like Canada where it's like they value that too, because that seems to be very, very something that's very much missing, I think, in the United States right now is politeness and kindness, which goes a really long way.
I think kindness,
it's a mixed bag.
Kindness needs to be on the up and up everywhere, I think, right now, especially now.
It's because I mean,
Jay.
I feel like Toronto is very polite on the surface, but then different places that you'll go in Canada, you'll find people who are just so genuinely hospitable and warm. Like when I've gone out to the Maritimes out in like Halifax, people have been extraordinarily kind. Montreal hospitality can be really wonderful. And the Montrealers are, what a party town. Like they really lovely, warm people, cold weather, warm people. Although the Quebecers can also be a little xenophobic. So we always think of Canada as being, well, you know, they're on a different level than the US, and it can be true in some places, but we're in just such a weird point in history because having someone like Cheeto Hitler in power has only emboldened other assholes to be assholes. So we have our own versions of that in the conservative parties in the government here. So you can't be entirely fooled that like, oh, but Canada, because yes, but no. So we're in for a rough one. So we got to brace for impact, and all of us are out here trying to make the best of what we've got. And although yes, I would like to see kindness trending. Especially when it comes to meeting various folks in the scene, because you see some newer people, some newer faces in the scene. And again, we're all, I guess we could all be considered elder goths because, you know, of our ages and how long we've been involved in the scene. And it's really rather sweet to see younger, I don't want to call them kids because I don't want to infantilize or demean anyone, but seeing younger people coming in, like I want to share all the music with them and be like, oh yeah, you're into this? Here, what about this? And I would love to see more of that because I've seen like there was somebody following me on my Instagram and they were like born in 2000 and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, beyond that, when we come out of this, and we can get back into steady nightclub shows, like probably as Clint said, a year or two after when there's enough venues. There's going to be a lot of people who found the music and they're going to come out for the first time. And we need to be kind of welcoming of those folk because otherwise there's not going to be anything left.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that you both have brought up this instance because number one, whenever people say kindness is selfish, I agree with that in a certain aspect because it makes me feel fucking good to make someone else feel good, you know, and I just really, one thing that I wish that I had being a kid living in Louisville, Texas, which is like, if you lived in New York, it's like the Buffalo, New York of Texas. You know, one thing I would have wanted as a kid meeting other older goth people is for just someone to be kind to me and introduce me to stuff. And I was so lucky to find that with like a couple of friends because I was a kid at one point, like a lot of other people, and I needed to start somewhere. You're not just born with this amazing fashion and music knowledge or whatever the fuck. And honestly, I got major joy. A big thing for me that happened this week is my brother-in-law, who is fairly young, at 25. It's Lauren's brother. He is dating a really great girl right now, and she is very much kind of. She's very young. I think she again probably born in probably born in like I think want to say like 98. But she is very much, you know, of the new wave of, you know, the kids now where, you know, she if she does listen to dark music, she's kind of like into the witch house stuff and into you know, Grimes and stuff like that. So so it was great. I had the pleasure of her being like, hey, I don't know anything about the kind of like the goth music besides The Cure. So I don't know anything about the goth music you listen to. So will you make me a compilation? And my eyes lit up. I was like, yes, because I got to put all of the songs that I am now tired of. I got to put those on the compilation. It was the easiest compilation I ever made. I was like, here are the songs that when I heard them the first time, they completely knocked me on my ass. And even though I've heard this corrosion 5 million times, she's never heard it before. So it was like getting to make a mixtape for just from like a fresh human. So yes, I loved doing that, being able to make that for her. And I definitely want to be kind to people that are going to be new to the scene and the subculture, especially youngsters that are coming out and are just like maybe scared to approach someone that's been in the scene for a while because they think they're going to be judged. Fuck that, man. Like, I think, I really, really don't have time for pretension and for that kind of asshole attitude. You know, we're better than that. We have to be better than that if we want to keep seeing other generations allow this scene to live on, you know?
Yeah, that's actually very well said. Because I know some people feel very self-conscious about coming out because they're not going to be dressed right. And
that is so stupid.
That's like me.
Yeah.
I'm never dressed right. I just wear a t-shirt. And that's all you need, folks. Black t-shirt. Get some jeans, maybe. Put some pants on it. Maybe wear a skirt. You know, whatever. That's all you need.
Although I find that Jay and I push each other when we DJ, because I think Jay has helped me become a better DJ and has challenged me in some beat matching and how to create an even slicker flow. Because I when I initially started, I was never like, oh yes, I have to beat match everything. I was like, no, beat matching doesn't matter. You just have to tell a story. You have to have a good flow that isn't going to be jarring to the listener. But now I've got so much more pressure on me that no, I want to make this beautiful blend, and maybe if I can throw some samples in it. Although I get really heavy sampling thunder these days, and I have to cut that out. Although it's funny to me, but I have to cut that out.
I never actually exerted pressure on Laura for everybody listening. I never told her, you have to do this. No, I never did that. It was just by proximity.
But then I think I influenced you, because there'd be certain nights where you get a new shirt and you'd be like, look, I made a fashion.
Look, I did a fashion at you.
I did a fashion. That's how that works, right? Like
that is how
I made
it works.
a fashion. I might make a fashion.
I made a fashion.
I made a fast fashion.
And now,
hey.
But now, since I DJ in what passes as a living room, and you can only see me from the waist up, you're lucky if I have pants on.
I am definitely into the pantsless, the pantsless, danceless DJ.
It's a pants off dance off.
That's right. And honestly, it's so funny though that you say that, because there's something very like David Lynchian feeling about having like the house to myself, getting ready and like putting on my makeup and clothes to go stand in front of my TV and literally dance to like a silent room except for my headphones. You know, and just have like spin records. There's something very like Black Lodge about that to me. You know, I'm just like, this is fucking weird. What is this world we're living in? This is like fucking some Blade Runner shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's very, because even when I've gotten on the microphone, I'm like, I am talking to the camera and I'm not getting any feedback from this or any response. I have to keep, I'm performing. It's truly performing. But that's part of what I think makes some DJs really interesting to watch, because you can see what they're into doing. And I love DJ Cyberpagan, and he has a camera, a cat camera, so you can see her lounged out on the couch. And then Hate Me, or our buddy Kate, is a former street busker and traveled the world performing. So she's definitely a performer as a DJ. And you can tell when people really love what they're spinning and they're into it and they're having a good time. And when you're seeing them have a good time, it makes you happy too, because you're like, yeah, this music is fucking awesome. And these people are great. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely get it. And I always feel like I had, like, after I'm done with a stream, I always feel like as satisfied as I would have, and just as exhausted as I would have had I gone out to like a club or something and danced for a while. It's been really great. It's something that, honestly, with how non-tech savvy I am, it's something that I'm just so proud that I figured out how to do, because when I tell you I was having just the biggest anxiety anxiety about how am I going to pipe sound into the computer, and I didn't know how to do any of that stuff, and now I've learned that. So it's just something that, on top of just knowing the skill and being satisfied by that yeah, I love being a part of this community. I love being able to just kind of be goofy and dance for people and play music that makes them happy. And I love watching shows like Prophecy and stuff where I get to, see how much pleasure you take in what you do. And that makes me happy. Just like seeing you smile and like play to the camera. I'm like, oh yeah. She's very good at and knows exactly what's happening.
And then there's whatever the fuck I'm doing, which is not smiling or playing to the camera.
No, Jay, but you know what though? Jay, you are the thing that I've said about you and the great shit that you play is I know that whenever I watch you do your thing, that I'm going to leave watching you having heard something or 2 or 3 things that I wasn't familiar with, so I really appreciate that. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna like write this down. So you've like hipped me to some good shit.
Wow, thank you. That's my mission in life, because I need a purpose, I guess.
It is a good and worthy purpose. You're educating the masses on some stuff they didn't know.
Exactly. And honestly, with both of you, I love that there's just this different rotation. And actually, and one of the first things I ever said when I watched your show was I think I was like side chatting, and I was like, and I said, no top 5 for you. And you knew exactly what that meant. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be hearing Bauhaus Sisters, Cure, Susie, at least very often, if at all. And that's great, because as someone that watches these DJ streams, I want to hear stuff that I'm not accustomed to hearing. Just like we were talking about, going back to beating a dead horse. Let's play something different besides, Spellbound by Susie.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and that's where it comes from, and I think Laura would agree, is why are you going to take the time to go online where there's no bar, nobody's paying to get in, none of that stuff. You don't have to worry about being invited back by a bartender or the owner or whatever. You can play whatever you want, and people can hear new things. So why are we playing the same shit from 30, 40, 20, even 10 years ago?
Oh yeah. And what was it that Scary Lady Sarah said? Like, it was something that I'm now regurgitating that was told to me, but something about like, if I have to play another Sisters of Mercy song, I'm going to kill myself.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so if you're doing a retro night, then you're doing a retro night. And I'm not shitting on people for doing retro nights. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But for real, like, Prophecy has been around now for, in some incarnation or another, for just over almost 5 years, actually. We're coming up on 5.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And
congrats.
When we did
Thanks.
Well, thank you. When we did the October Invasion of the Body Snatchers night, that was the first time we had ever had a Sisters of Mercy song played.
Was that like a big milestone, right, Laura? You were like, holy shit, we're fucking playing a Sisters of Mercy song.
Well,
truly,
well, for 2 reasons. Because the first was I was playing it, and I have been saying for about 20 years that if I ever have to pay to hear the Sisters of Mercy again, I'm gonna probably just snap one day.
Well, we both snapped that day because we went and drag as each other. So
I remember
that was really fun. That was I had a blast, though. That was really fun because some people didn't even recognize me. They were like, wait, I didn't realize that was McCutcheon on screen, because I looked like an Eastern European, like, Jewish dude with the beard.
Oh, absolutely. I put it on and I was like, your beard is good.
Yeah, a friend of mine logged in, and Laura was on first, and the first thought in her brain was, "Who's this rando?"
And yes, you just name your. For some reason, when you said that, this is the way my actual ADD brain works. When you said, "Who's this rando?" I was like, "Oh my god, Laura should have gone as Rando Calrissian."
Oh my God.
I love that. Though. That was such a great idea. I love that y'all were doing like that kind of like a fun twist in theme night. I mean, that's the goal for me. And I would love to be able to team up with someone one day and do something like that where, you know, you're like, hey, you know, we're going to bounce off each other and just kind of do this stuff. I mean, that's what the stuff people like. I think that's why when I first saw, again, going back to Grant's show, Dark Energy, when I first saw how he's just so goofy and interacting with the people and has the dance cam and stuff, I can only hope to be that fancy one day. But no, just seeing that, you know, and just watching people have fun and not just stand there. We all know there are some Twitch DJs and just DJs in real life that they'll stream exactly the way they would act at the club, which for me is I'm going to be dancing at the club regardless, whether I'm spinning or not. But, you know, there's a couple that crack me up because I'm just like, dude, I'm watching you just like hit a button and then just text on your phone for 2 hours. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They'll just kind of hang out. And I'm like, but then it kind of becomes their shtick without them meaning it to. And I'm just like, this is hilarious. I love this. Oh, look, he's raising his arm to show that he's enjoying the song for a second.
What?
Right. Little fist pump there.
So you will see me texting on my phone, but that's usually me talking in the chat for the stream because I do it through my phone because my laptop is otherwise occupied.
No. I completely understand that, but the person that I am specifically thinking of, it cracks me up because they are not engaging in chat whatsoever. In fact, I think they deactivate the chat.
Oh my God.
And they're just like, they're just hanging out because they're like, I don't stand for baloney and I do not wish to talk to anybody here.
Wow. There's a track, a very, very, very old deadmau5 track to the point where he wasn't even called deadmau5 yet, where it's called This Is the Hook. And in the middle of the song, it goes, it is important for as the DJ to look up from your deck so the crowd knows that you are alive.
Oh man.
That's
a good point.
And the whole thing is like instructions on how to DJ. It's a really funny song. I'll have to send you a video.
I think I recall you talking about that a while ago. This is a hook.
Yeah, I've played that like, before.
Yeah.
Was that like deadmau5's answer to when like Kanye West many years ago did that like the Kanye West workout song or whatever it was?
Oh, I don't even know, but if it is, that's hysterical.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had made a comment to, again, 7 years is a big time difference as far as the kind of music you grew up with. And Lauren is 7 years younger than me, the bassist in Blood Bells and my wife. And I had mentioned, I think it was last year, I was like, you know what? She was like, what's one thing that most people, you know, we like to play games on road trips. And, you know, she was like, okay, well, what's one thing that would shock people to know about you? And I was like, I've never heard a Kanye West song. And without saying anything, she just put that on. And she's like, and I'm like, no, don't make me, no, and then now I've heard the Kanye West workout song.
Oh,
geez.
Well, on that note, sorry. I guess we should wrap up. There's nowhere to go after that.
Yeah, there is. New York City.
Oh my word. Yeah, that's like right up there with the first time I heard Justin Bieber. And that was the night after I'd finished DJing this wedding, and on the way home, I was introduced to the Sorry song, and then I just couldn't not hear it, and it was like, fuck, I could have lived a long happy life without having to know this song, but now I know it. So
I'm glad to say I've never heard it, so I can imagine that it's hell though, and I actually can proudly say I've never ever heard a Justin Bieber song by some fucking miracle.
You're not missing anything.
I don't know if I've heard either of the two artists you mentioned because I work in retail and there's plenty of shitty background music, and I'm sure Kanye's been on there at some point, and I'm sure Justin Bieber is, but I can't identify him because it all sounds like garbage to me.
Isn't most of the background? I worked retail for 15 years, and most of the background music was like ELO and like Michael McDonald and stuff like that. Is that still the case, or is it more just kind of like bland indie rock now, or what?
So ours is thankfully varied, and I say thankfully because they will have in rotation Pet Shop Boys and Depeche Mode and Duran Duran, and The Cure is on there. So, you know, even a little bit of the Smiths, which fuck Morrissey, but it's at least bearable.
I had a Rhino CD collection, like a box set of the Smiths. That was basically it was really cutely packaged. It was their entire discography plus all the compilations, but it was put in like little record sleeves, and you put it in the box, and it comes with little miniature versions of the posters that came inside the record. So I got that about 10 years ago, and since I really can't remember the last time that I listened to the Smiths. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to see what this goes for on eBay. Y'all, I bought that compilation when it came out, or that collection when it came out, that box set, for maybe $30, and I got a deal on it. I sold a CD compilation or a CD box set of the Smiths on eBay for like $170 for that set. And I couldn't believe it. People really collect those Rhino boxes, man, because once they're gone, they're gone. Rhino has always been like a collector's, type of deal, I think. And I know that there was like you know what? It's Rhino, and then what was it? Ryko disc, if y'all remember those. Like Bowie,
trying to think back to
what was it? There was like a Bowie compilation put out in the 90s on Ryko disc, and they come in like a specially colored, jewel case, and those are super sought after. So apparently there's still a market for CDs, but for one, Blood Bells, we kind of, even though we have cassettes, we had a friend offer to put those out for us. We still kind of refuse to put out CDs because we feel like it's a waste of money, and that we'd just be kind of, making coasters for people.
Right. Although, I don't know, I tend to still buy CDs, I will admit, because when I've gone record shopping, especially when you can hit the used section, you can dig around and find some really great stuff.
Well,
although the vinyl collection's been growing a lot too, so it's a mixed bag.
Plus, you kind of got an instance where a lot of stuff that might be too expensive on vinyl, especially used, like older versions or stuff that hasn't been reissued. You've got the case of let's say Cocteau Twins. I'm still, if I go to a place that's got all kinds of media, and I find like a Cocteau Twins single or something that I don't have on record, and I know it's going to be super expensive, but they have it on CD. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to buy it. So I guess it's just kind of a mixed bag. You can kind of just, I think all media is good media, but CDs are just something that I think personally as a band, Blood Bells is reluctant to put out. But, maybe it's worth a shot, especially if they're at an all-time low to manufacture, since vinyl is back in vogue,
Yeah. I mean, I just admittedly like physical media because I like being able to have the artwork and the thought put into the packaging and all that kind of stuff. It takes up space, but, you prioritize this shit. And that's why I've got a CD cabinet in my house and a shelf for vinyl and all that kind of stuff. So, because it's not the same as digital media, but digital media is so instant because, again, tomorrow is going to be Bandcamp Friday. And being able to just go, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this, and immediately be able to download it. You've got it. You can listen to it, and that's that. You don't have to wait in the mail for it. But then when you wait in the mail and you get that package and it's actually in your hands, that tactile experience is really nice. And just listening to a record it's an experience because, again, having to play, you put down the vinyl and listening to a whole record from start to finish is a really nice experience. And it's not something that everybody can do because it's not very portable and you're not skipping around to different parts of the song. There's a specific order and you have to sit down and listen to it and pay attention to it and make sure that the needle doesn't go off into the center of the record.
Which has embarrassingly happened to me a couple times on my streams. You just hear because I'm, oh shit, that was the wrong record. Whoops.
Whoops.
But no, I completely agree with you. And honestly, I've even said, how people like to make fun of 8-track now. At least some people do. And I've always actually said that I feel personally that is the first media that kind of came out that forced people to listen to an entire album from start to finish. I mean, you can still hit the little buttons to skip around a little bit, but it was interesting that you had to kind of listen to the whole album to get to the song you wanted to hear. And I guess it's because I kind of grew up with my dad listening to full albums like that on 8-track, especially in the cars when I was a kid, that it was automatic for me when I started buying cassettes to just listen to the whole album. The first 2 cassettes I ever bought was I mowed some lawns, got some allowance when I was like 9, and I went out and to Camelot Music, and I bought Metallica Ride the Lightning and Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion 2. And because, I was a kid, that's the rock music they're playing on the radio. And I just remember like listening to those albums and having those very different experiences, but very special experiences as a kid, and just kind of getting immersed into the world of the album, and yeah, I completely agree with you. I highly recommend anybody out there that's listening that might be addicted to more digital formatted media, or maybe kind of, gets bored and skips around a lot. Like, invest, even if it's in like a little Crosley record player, even though that's not my taste. I don't like the sound, but invest in something and make yourself fall back in love with like an album format and with just music in general, and just like take the time to appreciate the whole albums that these bands are taking time to do. So
I just noticed we had another thing in common, because the very first cassette I ever bought was Master of Puppets.
Hell yeah, brother. See, if y'all were in Texas, one of the things that a lot of the like goth like DJs or community know, they know that I'm in the building, and that I've maybe had a couple of great drinks. If they hear me at a goth night, just yell, "Fucking Pantera, brother!" And then there's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, Clint's here," because making fun of Texas accents and bands is my thing. Nice. But no, that's great, Jay. That's so crazy that both of our first albums were Metallica.
I still have
Laura,
that cassette.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was going to say, I still got the first like goth CD I ever bought. Laura, like what was your first, like that you can remember, like what was your first album that you either ever owned, or the first one you ever bought with like your own money?
Ooh, when I was 8, among the first couple of cassettes that I ever bought was Cyndi Lauper's "She's So Unusual."
Love it.
Tina Turner's "Private Dancer," because Tina Turner was making her comeback in the early to mid 80s.
Yes.
I love Tina Turner. And Madonna's first album.
Man, you did way cooler than me and Jay.
Yeah, but you got it. But I'm also of a slightly older. I don't want to say generation, because that's not
vintage.
True. But I am slightly older. So I mean, I was 8 and buying those cassettes because I was listening to music from the roller rink, because every Saturday 8 was great, and I went roller skating all day, and that's when they were playing all the newest music, and all the newest music involved all this stuff from the 80s, a lot of Dexy's Midnight Runners, and my current partner wasn't even born yet. So it's like, hey.
There you go. I will never forget how the skating rink smelled for some reason. It was just, it's like vividly in my mind. That was like the first thing I thought. But that's so cool that you were like, that was kind of your first exposure to music and saying, "Oh, this is what I
buying.
like."
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was good to be a child of the 80s for sure.
And back in the 80s too, it's probably crazy to think now that people that are buying metal are also buying new wave. It used to be a total divide. There was like the metalheads and like the new wave kids. And it's crazy now people are just kind of embracing, whatever the fuck they want to listen to, which I'm all for. But I mean, can you imagine like, myself and Jay, who were buying Metallica, but Metallica tapes are now also buying Thompson Twins stuff and, all of that. Right. So it's pretty crazy.
Well, Jay surprised me when he was like, "I like shoegaze." And I was like, wait, what? I didn't know you liked shoegaze, because I always considered you as this like, yeah, play the aggressive, stompy, industrial. And it's like, no, I like shoegaze too, because what I've heard, I really like. And I was like, oh. But then you fall into another genre and you have to, then that's where your paychecks.
Yeah, that's why I've chosen to spectate shoegaze. I don't want to know any. I just want to know, okay, this sounds cool. I like this. I don't want to know who's playing it because then I'll go buy it.
No.
You're allowed to sprinkle a little shoegaze into your life. It's fine. We'll allow it.
All right.
Yes, step into our web, Jay. Step into our web.
Nope.
Yes, because there are full albums that musicians work very hard on making, and you should be listening to them front to back and own them and love the shit out of them. So speaking of albums that musicians are making, what's slated up for Blood Bells?
Oh, like what's kind of upcoming? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to say that now that we have kind of gotten our groove back with, getting everybody up to speed on the tracks and trying to, feel our way out as this new lineup, we have started writing some new tracks. We've got 3 preliminary right now. One of them is almost fully done. So the plan is in 2021, we have set a goal that we're going to go back into the studio probably next summer and hopefully have something out for everybody next fall, a full-length album. It's going to be produced quite a bit better than A Time for Roses. And it's going to, I think, really knock people on their ass. I'm so excited about the new songs we're writing.
Nice. And as far as Ghoul Whip, you said you're not currently on a regular schedule, but you're planning on one. What is the plan for Ghoul Whip?
So with Ghoul Whip, my next stream is actually going to be on December 12th, which is a Saturday. It's going to be 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is also Toronto time, I hear.
Yes.
So essentially, I'm doing this stream on the 12th. I'm probably going to take the rest of December off, and then kind of starting in January, I'm gonna go to bi-weekly. I don't want to oversaturate, but I also don't want people to forget who I am. So I think I'm going to go to now bi-weekly instead of about once every 3 weeks to once a month. So
nice. Yeah, having a regular schedule so folks know when to catch you is definitely a good thing.
Exactly, and I'm going to take that advice and run with that because you have always got a very good viewership on your show, and I am one of the big supporters of Prophecy. So thank you both for doing that.
Oh, thanks. You. So we're at like over 90 minutes here. So I think we should kind of wrap it up. Is there anything else that we should add for our listeners as far as URLs and things folks should follow and all that jazz? Okay, so yeah, that's a really good question. I am going to say definitely check us out, bloodbells.bandcamp.com. Definitely support us if you can for Bandcamp Friday tomorrow. You can also find me on Twitch and on Instagram as Ghoul Whip, but it's spelled lowercase GH 0UL _ whip WHIP. And I think that anybody that's a fan of goth, EBM, Italo, disco, and new wave will definitely want to give me a follow, and they'll get to hear some great shit. But yeah, be on the lookout. Blood Bells is going to kick everybody's ass next year. Nice. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. This is so much fun. Hey, thank you both for having me. It's been wonderful. Anytime. All right. Well, everybody have a great night. All right, so that does it for this episode. Remember, everybody, to like, subscribe, and share. Please share it out. Tell your friends. You could always drop us an email if you want to give us some feedback and let us know at itsmidnightsomewherepodcast@gmail.com. We're currently thinking about possibly doing a Patreon, but we're looking for some feedback because we're not the most creative at rewarding people. So we'd like to hear from folk and see what you think. Because if people are going to give us money, what do you want? What do you want for it? Like, literally. What do you want? Give these people money and give these people air. Well, mostly we want to upgrade our gear so we can present everybody a better show. But if you're going to kick in, we want to be able to give you something you want. So we had a couple ideas, but mostly we're just scratching our butts. So you could go over to It's Midnight Somewhere on Facebook, and we have a question out there. Please let us know what you want, what you really want.
Had to do it. I had to do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you to Marion Green for our lovely artwork. Thank you to Robin Bright for our lovely intro sound. And extra thank you to Justin, who will have to take this longest episode we've ever recorded and make it somewhat manageable.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight.
This podcast was almost called Post-Nuclear Circle Jerk.
There we go.